Hey, Jamie, I'm not sure if I can record while I screen share. No, I got it. Hello, everyone. We will get started in just a moment. But for those who are here, welcome to the T-Hour staff meet and greet with Cultural Survival. And so really happy you're all here, and we will get started in a few minutes. Good morning, good afternoon. For those who are just joining us, we will get started soon. We're just waiting for a few folks to log on still. We are live streaming on our Facebook and YouTube live. So we're just waiting for a few more relatives to join us. But if you haven't already, now is a good time to grab some water, to grab some tea, and get comfortable, and we'll start soon. All right, good morning, good afternoon. So grateful everyone is here. We will give it about 2 more minutes, and then we will start today's webinar. And I'm just checking the chat here. We will be recording both in English and Spanish, and we'll soon upload to our platforms following that. So hang tight, we'll get started in about 90 seconds. All right. Hello, Siguli Swagwek. Hi, everyone. I suppose we can get started here. I think we're going to have relatives come and go throughout this session, both on Zoom and our Facebook and YouTube Live. And so with that, we have plenty of folks here to get started. Siguli Swagwek, Daisy Niyong Yats, Anawal, Niwagi Dalota, Anay de Aga, Niwagi Hujont. Hi, everyone. My name is Daisy Francor. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Communications at Cultural Survival, and I'm really excited to present today's webinar. Normally, folks see that a lot of our webinars are really focused on a lot of the issues that we work on, but today we wanted to take the opportunity for all of our community and our relatives to meet some members of our team and those who are doing the fantastic work that you all see here as we produce on these different outlets. And so, but before we get started and before I hand it off, I wanted to just go through a few housekeeping items first. This event is being live streamed on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live, as well as broadcasted on Zoom. Our Zoom features a translation channel. So if you see on the bottom navigation bar, there is an interpretation tool. And there you can choose your desired language to listen in on. Both English and Spanish will be spoken here today. So if you are bilingual, feel free to use that or not as needed. And so following these live streams, we will be recording these sessions and then therefore posted on our Facebook and our YouTube, as well as our website soon to come. We have a handful of questions today that we'll be asking our team, and hopefully with time permitting, we'll be able to open it up to all of those here in the audience who also have questions for our team. And just wanting to add here that we love to be able to provide these kind of webinars to you, our community. And but to do this, you know, it does take resources. And so if you like what you've learned, you've moved by what you've heard, feel free to donate to our current CS50 anniversary campaign at cs.org/donate. So with that, before I introduce our moderator, I'm actually going to hand it to Adriana Hernández, who is the Strategic Partnerships Coordinator at Cultural Survival, who will be opening up today in a good way with some opening words. Yeah, Adriana.
Gracias, Daisy. Le mando un saludo cordial a cada una de las personas que nos está viendo en este momento a través de nuestras redes sociales y la transmisión. Quisiera expresar la gratitud en nombre de toda la familia de Cultural Survival, ya que sin ustedes, sin nuestros socios, las radios, los jóvenes becarios, las mujeres, nuestros colaboradores, sin todos ustedes, pues todo el trabajo que nosotros realizamos no sería posible. Para iniciar, quisiera leer una dedicatoria del poema quechua Freddy Chicangana y dice así. A los abuelos y abuelas que han sabido guardar en buen cofre la sabiduría para ir sacándola en los momentos más difíciles de nuestro caminar. A los hombres y mujeres que por encima del dolor y el cielo gris que nos cubre, con la grandeza de sus corazones, hacen que el sol alumbre la memoria de las generaciones. A los caminantes de la palabra, a los luchadores de la vida y de los sueños, a los niños por su capacidad de asombro, a los que han sabido ganarse un lugar en este universo con aquella terquedad tan necesaria para lograr un mundo más justo y digno donde quepamos todos y todas. Gracias.
Yawanko, thank you, Adriana, so much for those. I'm so grateful to have you a part of our team. All right, so with that, I am going to introduce Valine Brown, who is a member of the Cultural Survival Board of Directors. Valine is Haida and an organizer, a communications professional, and her work is rooted in her homelands. And her academic and advocacy efforts are also centered around Indigenous title, rights, and responsibility. And Valine believes in the power of people and connection to place. And she is fiercely committed to building community resilience amid this climate crisis that we're all in. And Valine does her strategizing on the beach and finds inspiration in the forests of her homeland's Haida. Valine, thank you so much for being here and moderating this session. And with that, I'm going to hand it to you to lead the rest of today's session. Yawanko, thank you.
How a Daisy, Hadala assist along out kiltlogan, got odas gustudi olagan, di u awes gogan, Aistahanes is can Valine hinudi can. Good afternoon, good morning from my homelands on Haida. I am a citizen of the Haida Nation. I belong to the Kowis Eagle clan, and I am very grateful to be here with you all today. I serve as a board member with Cultural Survival, and it is just an honor to be here and to host this discussion and to see all of these beautiful people who are doing such important work in their communities and their territories. So we do have a full agenda in front of us. I would like to just take a quick moment to introduce Cultural Survival, which, as many of you probably know, is almost 50 years old, an international nonprofit that is Indigenous led and based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Today, Cultural Survival has 28 staff members in 10 countries around the world, and CS advocates for Indigenous peoples, rights, and supports Indigenous communities' self-determination, cultures, and political resilience since 1972. We provide holistic wraparound support and services through rights-based work that has a three-pronged approach that includes grant making, advocacy, and capacity building. So again, I'm absolutely honored to be here with you all and to be hosting this discussion. And I will start by introducing the staff members who have joined us here for the tea hour, starting with Verónica, who is Mixtec and the Keepers of the Earth Fund program in Veracruz, Mexico, and she studied Hispanic language and literature at the University of Veracruz. She has worked as a translator, copy editor, radio presenter, and research assistant in the field of education. Verónica recently moved to her traditional Mixtec lands to engage in a personal project, learning the language of her family, and she is also concluding a historical and linguistic documentation project in her community. Good afternoon, good morning, Verónica. We have Adriana here, who is Maya, and she is the Strategic Partnerships Coordinator and was born and raised in Quetzaltenango in Guatemala. She holds a bachelor's degree in international relations, and she has participated in the Global Undergraduate Exchange Program and continued her studies in political science at the Juniata College in Huntington, Pennsylvania. She is fluent in English and Spanish, and while working as the faculty assistant, she volunteered in an education program for vulnerable children and seniors. And Adriana is interested in multicultural environments, human rights, and empowering Indigenous women. Hello, Adriana. Next, we have Sheldon Ferris, who is KhoiSan and is the Indigenous Rights Radio Coordinator. Sheldon started out in media by producing music videos, and his work with Indigenous people started in 2006 after he went on a countrywide journey to document the origins of his family's surname, Damakwa, which is a Khoi tribe of South Africa. On his paternal side, Sheldon's San heritage can be traced to the Northern Cape in South Africa, and his first film, El Dorado, premiered at the Durban International Film Festival and won an award in 2011. Sheldon became involved in radio when he started volunteering at his local radio station at Johannesburg. Since then, his live show, Cleaning Up the House, which airs weekly on Saturday mornings, has won numerous awards and is the longest running weekly show on Eldo's FM. The show is built in interaction from the community based on current issues. Hello, Sheldon. Nati Garcia is Maya and is the Indigenous Youth Community Media Fellowship Coordinator. Garcia was born in a refugee camp in Mexico as her family fled Guatemala in the 1980s due to the military genocide operation that targeted Indigenous communities. At the age of 3, her family received refugee status in Canada, and she grew up on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. Her experience as marginalized Indigenous youth inspired her in advocacy for Indigenous sovereignty and self-autonomy. Over her 5 years of experience as a facilitator, youth counselor, and community builder, she has helped individuals develop a sense of self-worth and integrity. She is enlivened by opportunities to explore authentic exchange, leadership, world bridging, social justice, and youth empowerment. Nati has worked with a variety of intergenerational, intercultural, and youth-focused organizations within what's called Canada, and hopes to continue on this path in collaborating, teaching, learning, and performing on an international level. Edson Krenak is the lead on Brazil and is an Indigenous activist, writer, and a PhD student at Vienna University in Austria, where he develops and studies in legal anthropology. He holds degrees in linguistics and literary theory at São Carlos Federal University in Brazil. And he also works as a speaker and trainer at the UCA Institute in Brazil. And as a writer, he won the 10th Tamoios National Prize of Indigenous Writers in Brazil with the book of Osano de Borum and his tale Kren and Pokrin, Why There Are Not Twing Among the Krenak People. Edson's ancestors are known as the Bodokudos. And Cesar Gomez, we are joined by, who is Maya, and Pocomam, he is the Community Media Program Coordinator. And Cesar is from, let me see, Escuintla. How about that? Escuintla in Guatemala. My apologies. Pocomam is a Maya town that is located only 25 miles from Guatemala City. Pocomam was once a widely spoken language, but in Cesar's words, the colonial Spanish language media in Guatemala has eroded our language and culture over time. The Pocomam of Palin are an exception. They have maintained their language and many cultural practices. From a young age, Cesar has been involved in cultural revitalization in his community as a founder and member of the Cultural Association of Pocomam, KhoiSan. In 1999, Cesar started as a volunteer at a community radio station where he worked for 5 years. And in 2005, he was selected as a regional representative to the Association of Guatemalan Community Radio Stations. In 2007, he was hired as the office administrator of the National Congress of Community Radios. And in 2008, he joined Cultural Survival as the content production and training coordinator for the community media program in Guatemala. Cesar is also the president of the board of Cultural Survival in Guatemala, and he holds a degree in communications from the University of San Carlos. I am absolutely in awe at all of you and the work that you do in your communities and with Cultural Survival, and welcome to the tea hour. How again for being here. I have introduced you all, and where we want to start off with our agenda is to actually hear from all of you in just a minute or two on if you can just introduce yourself and your journey leading up to now and your time with Cultural Survival. And I would maybe just invite if we can go in the order that I introduced you all. So Verónica, Adriana, Sheldon, Nati, Edson, and Cesar. So Verónica, can I hand it over to you to say a word or two about yourself? Anything that I missed or anything that you would add about yourself?
Muchas gracias, Valine. Pues, hola, soy Verónica. Yo nací en el sur de Veracruz, en México. en realidad fuera del territorio que ha sido por siglos este territorio del pueblo mixteco. Pero pues la identidad se mantiene en mi comunidad, sabemos quiénes somos, de dónde venimos, mantenemos ciertas costumbres, algunas familias incluso mantienen la lengua. Y bueno, pues yo entré a estudiar literatura cuando era yo joven, después entré a estudiar lingüística, pero en algún momento tuve que detenerme en mi carrera académica. Me fascina la academia, me fascina la ciencia, pero decidí hacer una pequeña pausa para venir a vivir a las tierras mixtecas, que es de donde salieron nuestros abuelos para fundar la comunidad donde yo nací. Y pues la intención es aprender la lengua, tener más posibilidades de aprenderla rápido. Y es desde aquí que se ofreció la oportunidad de empezar a trabajar con Cultural Survival. Y bueno, pues estoy muy emocionada porque estoy trabajando en una organización increíble con un equipo que es muy unido, que hace cosas sorprendentes y bueno, y a la vez este trabajo me permite estar aquí haciendo, pues realizando este sueño personal. Gracias.
So much for that, Veronica. It is so great to see you and hear your passion and the beautiful work that you're doing. Adriana?
Gracias, Valine. Mi nombre es Adriana Hernández. Yo nací en Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. Soy maya quiché. Del lado de mi mamá, los abuelos eran de una ciudad que se llama San Cristóbal, Totonicapán. Y del lado de mis papás, de mi papá, es de Quetzaltenango, donde actualmente vivo. Ahora estoy desempeñando el cargo de coordinadora de alianzas estratégicas en Cultural Survival. Y estoy apoyando más que nada en la ejecución de las diferentes estrategias emergentes que vayan surgiendo para encaminar la misión y visión de la organización. Yo empecé a trabajar con Cultural Survival hace más de 2 años, en el 2019. Inicié como asistente ejecutiva y para mí el estar en Cultural Survival ha sido una de las experiencias más valiosas que he podido tener, principalmente por los lazos que he podido crear, no solo con mis compañeros de trabajo, sino también con los socios, con los jóvenes, con las mujeres que participan en nuestros proyectos. Y todo esto pues lo hemos hecho a través de visitas comunitarias. Entonces creo que ha sido algo muy grande la experiencia que he podido tener en el tiempo que laboro en Cultural Survival. Actualmente también estoy colaborando en un proyecto de mujeres defensoras, activistas de Guatemala, México y Honduras a través de Cultural Survival. Estamos dando entrenamiento para desarrollar capacidades en la defensa de derechos humanos y medios de comunicaciones. Y esta pues ha sido una experiencia grandiosa porque pues podemos aprender juntas, ¿no? Con todas las mujeres en los entrenamientos y es algo muy, muy enriquecedor y es algo inigualable. Gracias.
Oh, Hawa for that, Adriana. As a citizen of a matrilineal nation, that work speaks to me. So Hawa for all that you're doing. Sheldon, the Indigenous Rights Radio Coordinator.
Thank you very much, Valine, and thank you for all the introductions. You're doing really well. I love listening to you and just pronouncing all of our names and where we come from and so on. Doing really good. Thank you for that. So my name is Sheldon Ferris. I am from South Africa. I am an independent filmmaker and a broadcaster. I was just listening to Valine doing that introduction, sort of just took me back to how the journey began. 11 years ago, I was working in a bank, just doing systems development in a financial institution with a very capitalist mindset. And it was really a curiosity, you know, that has changed my whole world and turned it completely upside down. So my grandfather always used to talk to me, but I guess I was too young to listen. But he used to share his stories in the language that I'm speaking now and in some other languages as well. And I was too young. But his friend, when my grandfather had passed on, his friend took me in and took me on a journey to show me where my grandfather had come from. And we visited many provinces in South Africa, and I was just blown away. Um, I started doing some filmmaking, and my sister founded a radio station, and I just started volunteering. And so the work that I'm doing now for cultural survival, Indigenous Rights Radio Coordinator, I can totally see how an email landed on her desk saying that they're looking for somebody like me, exactly like me, somebody with a background in radio, somebody with a background in film, and somebody who's very interested in his roots and where he comes from. And it made so much sense for me to bring all of these skills together. And to now be able to produce radio programs, and we have done so many of them, and it's just something that I enjoy so much. So I've been with Cultural Survival, it will be 5 years in July, and it's been an absolute pleasure just working with all of these beautiful people that you see. Thank you very much.
Oh, Hawa, so much for sharing that, Sheldon. I can certainly hear as you speak that you are somebody who has found your purpose.
I believe so.
Hawa. Nati, good morning, good afternoon. You have internet and you are here with us.
Yes, greetings. Hello, everybody. I'm calling from the ancestral territories of the Duras people in a region in Panama, the west side of Panama. My roots are from Mayamam, and I come from many nationalities, mixtures. I think my bloodline flows in many parts of the world, and just hearing the bios of my staff, I'm just so amazed of the team that we have, and it just like, I didn't know so much. Sometimes we don't always get that opportunity. So the spaces are so important to be able to hear and really spotlight the personal and work of our team. And for me, culture survival was an alignment of the cosmos in the universe. I think it all came to place and aligned. I really went with my heart, and I was in a moment in place where it was shift in my working atmosphere, and this opportunity came, and I listened to the universe, to the voices of my ancestors, and trusted that. At first I felt that maybe I wasn't capable, and I doubted, but I went for it, and I was thankfully given this opportunity, and they believed in me, and that really allowed me to shine. And I'm close to 4 years now into my working with culture survival and the community team. And I like to work a lot with my hands, cultivating art, working with the land. I do a lot of gardening and harvesting of plants. And I do just like a abundance of things in between. I just think the hands are just really powerful, and they hold a lot of wisdom and a lot of information for us, and always inspired with the work that I do with the youth that I work with as a coordinator for the Indigenous Community Media Youth Fellowship. So thank you so much, Valine.
Excellent, Hawa, for that, Nati. I hope to get some gardening advice from you if you have anything to share. Tips for the West Coast and growing some food here. Hawa for that. And Edson, good afternoon and welcome.
Hello, Valine. Thank you very much. Also, thank you for caring so much for the pronunciation of our different names, and we appreciate a lot. And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you all for being here with us. It's such a pleasure to see so beautiful faces, beautiful people, and in this moment that's very special for all of us. at Cultural Survival. This is my second year here in this amazing organization that I used to read the magazines in Brazil, but years ago I read some articles on those magazines at university. Then I didn't know much. I even didn't know if cultural survival it still existed, because I didn't see any operation in Brazil. I felt this absence, but back in times I didn't speak English, and it was challenging to really follow the work. But then I came to Vienna to study 4 years ago. And then once I was visiting a museum here, was an event. Also, the same museum, World Museum, was holding an event for with a theme of Latin America. Then this museum was very special for me, because where I found several objects, sacred objects from my ancestors, that was brought to Vienna, Austria, in Europe, like 200 years ago. And my communities in Brazil, they didn't know that we had those sacred objects here. They called artifacts. It then was a big surprise for me. The museum invited me to spend like 6 months internship there to make an inventory of all pieces of indigenous peoples, all other relatives in Brazil. And then I was connecting people, the indigenous people in Brazil, to these pieces, these information here hidden here in Austria. And then on the corridor, I met Laura Graham, your colleague at the board. And then she was start talking to me. And then she told me about cultural survival. And then, yeah, it is great, but I don't think that you do anything in Brazil. Well, cultural survival in Brazil actually have a great history. Actually was born in Brazil, the idea of cultural survival. And unfortunately, we don't have much to we are not doing much work there, because we need someone. Well, I'm here if you need any help. I don't know. Then she just put me in contact with Galina and Mark, and we, after some conversations, we just joined. I am here on board. It's really great. After almost 7 years working as an indigenous activist, but working a very specific activism in Brazil, promoting indigenous literatures, stories, poetry, artistic movement, because we indigenous in Brazil, we also find our stories, our literature, our poetry, our art as translations of our world to the Brazilian society, to understand us, to join us, to protect our Mother Earth, to protect our environment, to protect the rights of the minorities and the indigenous peoples as well. That's why I think the universe, the spirit of nature, of the creation, put all these pieces together. I was a little bit, I thought I was far away from my land in Brazil, being here in Europe, but I was so close to my ancestors here, finding that I was so close to cultural survival as well. Yeah, this world actually is a small village for all of us.
That is absolutely spectacular, Edson, and it reminds us that everything is connected to everything else. How so much for sharing that. I'm very excited and hope to learn more about the work that you did with the sacred artifacts in museums. I know my nation and many other nations have been working to document and track what exists in museums around the world and repatriate items that are of the utmost sacred and spiritual significance. So hella for that work and for sharing. Last and certainly not least, Cesar, good afternoon.
Buenas tardes. Sakwa, Astakih, Kauham, Hunchalata, Han Cesar Gomez, Rehtinimit, Pocomam, Rehishimakash, Roana, Shachiller, Kanam, Huna, Pishanik, Panala, Kamanik, Kanam, Shunach, Kawach, to la Kamanik Dana, Cultura Survivor. Muy buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches a todos los que se encuentran aquí en esta oportunidad. Pues soy Cesar Gómez, soy Maya Pocomam de Valine, de Guatemala. Soy parte del equipo de Cultura Survivor, pero antes de ser del equipo de Cultura Survivor, pues, bueno, alguien que me orientó o me encaminó más que todo a estar en este proceso de defensa de derechos de los pueblos indígenas fue mi papá, ¿verdad? Él estaba aquí en Guatemala haciendo, en el pueblo de Palín, más que todo en una lucha por reivindicar derechos de los pueblos indígenas, fortalecer el uso del idioma maya Pocomam. Y entonces estaba en una asociación que se llama Asociación Cultural Pocomam Kawinakesh, así se llamaba. Y así se llama porque todavía está. Y entonces se estaba promoviendo más que todo el rescate de la música y del arte, de la danza de los pueblos. Y entonces él me insertó como danzante en esto para proyectar estos elementos y darlo a conocer a nivel nacional en actividades que hacían los pueblos indígenas. Así fue como yo inicié este proceso. Posteriormente, pues la organización fue creciendo, tuvo un centro educativo, ¿verdad? Que estaba dirigido solo a pueblos indígenas específicamente y que toda la cosmovisión fuera basado en pueblos indígenas. Entonces, yo estaba estudiando, me inserté un poco en este proceso, di clases como 2 años. Posteriormente, pues los que estaban dirigiendo la organización señalaron de que tener una radio era como tener una mayor cobertura para poder transmitir todos los elementos de la cultura. Y entonces, cabalmente en 1996 se firman los acuerdos de paz en Guatemala y ahí en un articulado menciona que los pueblos indígenas tienen derecho a tener su propia radio. Y así es como inicia este trabajo. De comenzar a demandar este derecho. Y entonces a mí me interesó un poco la radio. Primera vez que me pusieron un micrófono no decía mayor cosa, ¿verdad? Sin embargo, me interesaba hablar a través de este medio de comunicación y veía una oportunidad de poder informar, educar y fortalecer el uso del idioma en nuestra comunidad, porque somos un pueblo que está en un lugar donde es el único pueblo indígena, ¿verdad? En el departamento, ¿verdad? Entonces, los medios de comunicación, todo es en español, nada es en idioma Pocomam, y esta emisora dio esta oportunidad de que pudiéramos hablar en los 2 idiomas, Pocomam y español. Fue un poco difícil, ¿verdad? Porque la gente estaba acostumbrado a escuchar todo en español, no en Pocomam, ¿verdad? Entonces, hubo críticas al principio, no obstante, pues, ya después la gente se fue acomodando, ¿verdad? A aceptar de que había una cultura, un pueblo que tenía que reivindicar sus derechos y lo fueron aceptando, ¿verdad? Así fue como inicié el voluntariado en la radio, esta radio, y posteriormente pues me invitaron uno de los dirigentes de la Asociación de Radios Comunitarias de Guatemala, él se llama Marcelo Nicolás, él falleció hace 7 años. Él me invitó a que me sumara a la lucha más a nivel nacional, ¿verdad? De que no solo nosotros como pueblos indígenas de pueblo de Palín teníamos esta limitante, sino que también a nivel nacional, ¿verdad? Y entonces me invita a ser parte de la Asociación de Radios Comunitarias de Guatemala. Estuve ahí varios años y luego pues la Asociación de Radios Comunitarias formaron lo que era el Consejo Guatemalteco de Comunicación Comunitaria. Entonces me invitan a trasladarme a este espacio y entonces más agencia a nivel nacional de que el Estado cumpliera con derechos de los pueblos indígenas, más que todo con el acuerdo de paz y que le diera radios a las comunidades indígenas. Así es como me encuentro a Mark en este espacio. Él vino una vez a Guatemala y comenzó como a tener acercamientos aquí con las radios comunitarias. Así es como me encuentro con él, ¿verdad? Y así es como conozco también a Agnes, conozco a Sofía, a Jamie, hay otros que que ahora ya no están, pero y me invitan a ser parte de Cultural Survival, ¿verdad? Entonces, creo que las primeras, cuando conocí primera vez la oficina de cultura fue una visita que hicimos, que visitamos varias organizaciones de derechos humanos en Estados Unidos, más que todo pidiendo el respaldo para que nos apoyaran y se reconociera la radiodifusión comunitaria en Guatemala. Entonces, sí fue como mi inserto. Creo que al inicio me presentaron como de los que inicié haciendo programas radiofónicos, ¿verdad? Entonces, yo era como un técnico, hacía las mezclas, hacía los efectos especiales para los programas y poco a poco, pues ya después me dieron ahora producción radiofónica. Entonces comenzamos a hacer producción radiofónica con personal de las radios comunitarias, pues luego después pues fue incrementando un poco esta situación, ¿verdad? Porque ya comencé a participar en hacer incidencia en el Congreso de la República y entonces fui combinando el aspecto técnico con un poco el aspecto político y luego pues me dijeron que si podía hacer también acompañarles en esta situación de las denuncias que se están haciendo a nivel internacional, ¿verdad? Entonces, tenemos un caso en la Comisión Interamericana, ahora se traslada a la Corte Interamericana, entonces estamos haciendo incidencia, estamos haciendo programas radiofónicos, por ratos escribimos artículos también sobre temas coyunturales de nuestro pueblo y de nuestras comunidades y también ahora pues estamos apoyando también con algunas subvenciones que está haciendo Cultural Survivor y entonces le damos seguimiento, ¿verdad? Entonces para mí Cultural Survivor ha sido una escuela donde tenía como algunos aprendizajes anteriores, pero Cultural Survivor me ha terminado de alimentar y darme como esta escuela en la práctica, ¿verdad? Solamente gracias.
How so much for sharing that and your journey and your work with us. We did start a little bit late and I can see us going a little bit over time. So I hope that you all still have your tea with us here. I'm going to go into a couple of questions for the seasoned staff and team members, and then the newer staff and team members. So Cesar, if we can actually just stay with you, I would love to hear if you can share some of your accomplishments and the things that you're proud of working on with your time here at Cultural Survival.
Voy a tomar la palabra, soy Cesar Gomez. Bueno, algunos de los logros, creo que primero es pertenecer a una cultura milenaria, ¿verdad? Siempre ha luchado por la reivindicación de sus derechos y eso es lo que apoya a Cultural Survivor, ¿verdad? Entonces, creo que uno se siente conectado con esa energía. Otro es, por ejemplo, uno de los logros es estar en este proceso de construcción de una iniciativa de ley de radios comunitarias aquí en Guatemala y eso yo siento que es un logro, estamos aportando a que los estados reconozcan derechos de los pueblos indígenas. También algo que es un logro también es que estamos aprendiendo a denunciar, ¿verdad? Denunciar a nivel internacional la violación de los derechos a la libertad de expresión de los pueblos indígenas, en el caso de Guatemala. También otro logro que he visto muy significativo es la creación de la Red Centroamericana de Radios Comunitarias Indígenas, ¿verdad? Entonces, una iniciativa que empieza así en pequeño comienza a agrandarse, entonces esperamos que esto siga creciendo, ¿verdad? A nivel mundial, ¿verdad? Entonces, creo que eso es uno de los logros que se ha logrado con Cultural Survivor. También otra situación es que Cultural Survivor ha estado acompañando a los pueblos originarios a denunciar también en diferentes entes internacionales, ¿verdad? Entonces ya los pueblos indígenas somos sujetos de derecho, ya no somos objetos de derechos, sino que somos sujetos. Y creo que eso es algo muy importante que está haciendo Cultural Survivor en esta oportunidad. También está empoderando a la juventud, a las mujeres, a los niños, a los pueblos en general, a que reconozcan sus derechos y demanden sus derechos, ¿verdad? Algo también que es como un logro que yo veo es esta situación de que los pueblos indígenas ya están escribiendo y se están publicando a través de la revista de Cultural Survival. Y creo que eso es algo muy importante, escribir desde nuestras lógicas como pueblos indígenas lo que sentimos, lo que pensamos y lo que queremos, ¿verdad? Y entonces es algo muy, muy importante eso de los logros. También se ha crecido, por ejemplo, ahora con defensa de tierra y territorio. Antes se hablaba de estos temas, pero ahora se está accionando, se está apoyando con pequeñas subvenciones a los pueblos indígenas para que trabajen en estos espacios de defender, de denunciar, de fortalecer, de reconocer sus derechos. Eso es, considero que alguno de los logros y lo más importante, como lo mencioné hace un rato, esto es una escuela Cultural Survival, donde uno está aprendiendo todos los días y creo que vamos a seguir aprendiendo, no solo nosotros, sino que con los que estamos conectados, con los que estamos trabajando, ellos aprenden de nosotros y nosotros aprendemos de ellos, una interrelación, ¿verdad?
Hawa, so much for that and your years of service and the good work that you just shared, Hawa. Nati, I would have the same question for you. If you can share some of your accomplishments and the things that you're proud of during your time here with Cultural Survival.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your presence here and for listening to us and to the viewers who are watching us live on Facebook and the YouTube channel. If you have any questions there, feel free to insert or comment. One of the biggest accomplishments, I think, is the creation of the Indigenous Community Media Youth Fellowship. It started on the same year as to which I was hired, and I think that was a tremendous accomplishment for the organization to be able to offer these fellowships to Indigenous youth. We were offering, and we continue to offer grants to community radios, but there was a need and emphasis where Indigenous youth were inquiring about the possibility of them receiving some funding and support and capacity and being able to manage and coordinate and receiving experience in managing a project and within their own community. And I think the fellowship has been one of the biggest accomplishments. And it's to this day, we've awarded about 33 fellowships. And for me, each cohort from 2018 to our recent new one, 2021, has been tremendous transformations and just the stories and the inspiration. Each youth I admire. Each youth has a story, and after the fellowship program, the results is just incredible to see a bit of that transformation and really motivation. So I think that's one of the biggest ones I'd like to. And on the personal level, for me, one of like the biggest accomplishments I've personally seen is like internal growth, in being able to be here and share my story to a public audience. I grew up a very shy, intimidated person. So for me to be able to be on the front line and represent an amazing organization and be a representative, I think one of the personal growth that I've had with Cultural Survival, they really challenge me in that way to grow and to take that microphone and honor my voice and really share the work that we're doing. And so that is all I would like to comment for now, to offer more time for everybody else. So thank you for listening.
Oh, that is so powerful. Hawa, for that, Nati, for the work with the fellowship, as well as finding your own voice. That's incredibly important. And Sheldon, we would love to hear the same question to you. What are you proud of? What accomplishment would you like to see?
Thanks so much. I would like to agree with my colleague Cesar in just being in the environment. It teaches all the time, so we learn so much. The biggest accomplishment, I would say, is just when COVID began, we were very worried as an organization about how people like us, Indigenous people, will receive the messages. And we've embarked on a huge project to, first of all, write COVID-19 related PSAs. And then we got in touch with volunteers from all over the world, and we've translated these public service announcements into 144 languages and distributed all of this to more than 1,500 radio stations around the world, you know. So this is just like a multiplication of effort from absolutely everybody in the team. I reached out to Edson for sure. He can remember that we spoke about how many languages, how many people do you know in Brazil that speaks different languages? And he reached out and he got the messages translated and recorded and sent it back to me. And I had to edit languages that I don't know, send it back to him to approve. So it was a big cycle of us as a collective just working on these messages. In 2020, we have just completed a second round of the same project where we spoke about vaccines, community controlled health, and we've done it again. We've just concluded the second round about a month ago. So it's 6 public service announcements in total. And in the same exercise, we also created manuals for radio stations in Indigenous languages, and we sent these to different radio stations so that they can keep safe while they're getting the message out there. So this was amazing, and just to work with so many languages and so many people, I think that stands out as the biggest accomplishment. Then I'll just quickly go to a personal one. So because of cultural survival, last year was the first time. There's a lot of travel when you work at cultural survival. So I have never had the opportunity to travel to the place of my other grandfather's birth. It's the other grandfather coming in. See, there's always, you know, ancestors that talks to you. So I've never been to the place of his birth. And last year with this COVID-19 exercise, I got to see where my ancestry comes from, exactly the house where my grandfather was born in. I was there, so that felt really, really good. And I'll stop right there. Thank you very much, Valine.
That is absolutely extraordinary. However, that Sheldon, and I'm so glad to hear that you were able to connect with your ancestors and take that journey. So how for sharing with us. So those are our seasoned staff members, and now we're going to turn to some of our newer staff members who are Verónica, Adriana, and Edson. And so the question that I'm going to ask you in that order, what are you excited about, and what do you what do you hope to accomplish at Cultural Survival? Verónica?
Muchas gracias. Pues lo que más me emociona es estar en un equipo tan diverso que está trabajando para causas sociales que tienen una relación personal conmigo. Por supuesto que mi interés en los derechos de los pueblos indígenas pues tiene que ver con un sentido de justicia, pero pues también con mi historia personal, dado que pues yo soy de un pueblo indígena y he enfrentado algunos de estos problemas que enfrentan otras comunidades en todas partes del mundo. Entonces, lo que yo quisiera pues hacer durante mi estancia en Cultural Survival pues es cooperar en esta búsqueda de mejores condiciones para nuestras comunidades, pero también, pues claro, seguir conociendo conociendo la situación que enfrentan pueblos indígenas alrededor del mundo y pues conocer, entender cómo funcionan el colonialismo, cómo funciona el extractivismo y cómo es que podemos apoyarnos entre todos para enfrentar estos problemas, para tener un mundo pues mejor para nosotros, donde se nos respete, se respeten nuestros derechos. Sobre todo eso. Gracias.
Oh, how for sharing that, Verónica. Certainly diverse people who have a shared vision, and that is a powerful combination. Adriana, the same question for you. What are you excited about and or hope to accomplish at Cultural Survival?
Muchas gracias, Valine. Son muchas cosas en realidad. Me siento muy emocionada de saber que lo que estamos haciendo, del trabajo que hago día a día, pues sí realmente tiene un impacto en la vida de alguien. Y aparte de eso, pues toda la inspiración y el aprendizaje que tengo día con día de cada uno y el respeto que tengo hacia cada uno de mis colegas. Es un equipo diverso y la verdad es que no es tan común pues tener esa experiencia, ¿verdad? Y es un equipo increíble. Algo que también me emociona muchísimo es el proyecto piloto de mujeres defensoras que estamos implementando ahora. La verdad es que ha sido una experiencia de mucho aprendizaje y espero que podamos continuar. Estoy súper emocionada con el hecho de que podamos compartir experiencias, historias y aprendizajes con las mujeres de Guatemala, de México, de Honduras. De verdad es que cada una de sus historias inspira muchísimo. Finalmente, así a grandes rasgos de la organización en general, estoy muy emocionada de ver el enfoque holístico que tiene la organización y cómo siempre se está tratando de fomentar el liderazgo de las mujeres, el liderazgo del staff, el fortalecimiento de capacidades dentro del staff, dentro de la organización. Y eso la verdad es que es muy importante, inspira mucho y eso a la vez como que crea cierta esperanza al ver que se están sumando nuevos miembros del equipo a la familia de Cultural Survival. Entonces, muy feliz de ver cómo está creciendo la organización. Gracias.
Okay, so I had a bit of an issue with the translation on that one, Adriana. At the very end there, I caught that the organization is growing and that's beautiful. And I just want to give you an opportunity if you wanted to summarize further than that. I don't think that delay was just on my side. So if there's anything else that you wanted to add or summarize.
Bueno, solamente que la organización pues está creciendo desde que yo inicié. A partir de que yo inicié hasta este momento ha crecido bastante y es algo muy gratificante saber que nuevas personas vienen de diferentes lugares, que estamos haciendo un trabajo que sí impacta. Entonces, eso es muy fortificante. Gracias.
Yes, we can certainly hear how impactful the work is in so many communities around the world. How for that, and I apologize for any tech issues on my end here. And last but certainly not least, Edson, what are you excited about and or hope to accomplish at Cultural Survival?
Well, this is the kind of question, Valine, it has two faces. No? It's very easy to talk about that, but at the same time, very difficult to answer because so many things, right? We could say, but I would not. I talk a lot. I will be try to be brief because of our time. But I will share two stories with you that moves me a lot. Last year, I was supporting the program Keeps of the Earth. Connecting trying to support some communities facing COVID-19 in Brazil, and I was talking to a relative of mine. He told me, "Look, Edson, there is a community, indigenous community in the northeast of Brazil. They are facing, they are at the peak of an epidemic of dengue, and now arrived the COVID-19 in this community." They struggle a lot. Then I try to contact them. I called them, and while I was talking to the person in this community, this person, Edson, I have to stop talking because something terrible happened, and then a person very close to her just died, like was a terrible suicide, because they understood. I'm sorry to share this like so suddenly in this moment, but just to give you how serious was, how is important is our work. In this moment, they were understanding that the epidemic and the pandemic was the creator punishing them because the way humans are treating nature, and they were being left behind. They thought they would be left alone, completely alone. And then after 2-3 days, I called them again. They told me, I cannot believe that is the first time an international organization wants to hear us. It's the first time that we feel that we are not completely alone. We felt that we are being punished with this epidemic, with this pandemic. We thought that not the fact that we're being poor, we facing so many problems, we felt so hopeless. But now you come to us from so far away, offering the support from cultural survival. We never felt so special. We never felt important, so important as now. Now they are our partners. We are running now the second project with them. They recovered all these struggles they were passing, etc. They insist every time I talk to them. I talk to them almost every week. They tell me, Edson, it's so important to be finally heard, to have our voice really be heard in somewhere else. It be really, really considered. And then I think cultural survival connects voices that never have been heard. And this is very, very important. We do this with so much care, so much dedication, so much professionalism. We try to connect those communities, to support each other, to even when we have different understandings, different traditions of what is going on with us, right? And then they understood, they are super happy. The second example going to be a little bit briefer is the opportunity that cultural survival gave me to talk to some relatives from US and Canada, to write, when they decided to write a letter representing different indigenous peoples to indigenous peoples in Brazil concerning COVID-19. They wrote a masterpieces of healing, inspiration, support, historical perspectives, and they put so much things in this letter. This published in our website. It's called Indigenous. I can just, if you want to read this letter more, is an open letter by indigenous peoples to indigenous peoples in Brazil on surviving COVID-19. In this letter, it's really made me proud. The cultural survival as a channel to bring so much wisdom, so much healing, so much support to those communities. And one thing that I am really dreaming of is to bring all our programs to Brazil. I want all our programs to Brazil. I want to see Brazilian cultural survival, Brazil, as we have in Mexico, Guatemala, and because I think we need that. Brazil needs that, and I'm sure that cultural survival also will need that, and all of us will be stronger together. The more we have people joining us, the stronger we are, and this is, I think, is my dream now. Thank you. Yes, Nati, I count on you. Thank you.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And I can feel your and sense your excitement and your passion, Edson. We actually are reaching the end of our agenda. And I have one question that I wanted to ask to all 6 of you. And so it's related to COVID and how we have all been so impacted by the pandemic in so many ways. And we're also at the same time seeing Indigenous peoples, as always, rebuilding and restoring and demonstrating our resilience and living our life ways and the ways that the land has taught us to be. And although we're still in this pandemic, many of our people are building this better future and looking at the opportunities that are in front of us. And cultural survival envisions a future that respects and honors Indigenous people's inherent rights and dynamic cultures that are deeply rooted in and interwoven with the lands and our languages and our spirituality and traditions and our artistic expressions, and always rooted in our self-determination and self-governance. So Edson, I would love to hear from you, because I think you started to talk about this. Again, I'm going to ask everyone in just a couple of minutes if you can share your hopes for the future and what kind of a world you envision.
Thank you, Valine. Well, actually, I'm so curious and eager to hear my friends and relatives here, but I will share. Well, my hope is to really this work we do is be more visible, more known, more spread. Like we could really make our connections be seen, be heard. Wherever we go, whatever we do, because this is the COVID-19 showed how states and big corporations they failed human beings. No, those capitalist, neoliberalist organizations, corporations, and states are failing their systems. Their colonizing systems are failing human beings. What Indigenous people are showing that solidarity, working together, are saving humanity. We are showing that our nature has the answer for us, and we are showing that through all means, using technology, using our contact, using our art, using our literature, our voice, our music, our songs, our medicine, to show the world, look, the answer, the solution is not out there in other universe, other planet, but is here behind us in the garden that Verónica is preparing in her backyard, is with the ancestors' wisdom that Sheldon has sharing with us. All of us, we have these answers. These answers is all the time here with us. Let's share this. Let's teach this amazing lesson to one another, to the entire world, that solidarity, indigenous ways, is really, really powerful.
Yes, absolutely. How for sharing that, Edson. That's so powerful. Such a good reminder. I'm just going to go ahead across my screen. Verónica, I would ask you the same question. If you can share your hopes for the future and what kind of world you envision.
Bueno, pues a ver si no sueño mucho. Pues yo quisiera un mundo donde las naciones indígenas sean libres, donde no tengan a los estados nacionales encima, invadiendo sus territorios, saqueando sus recursos, de manera directa o indirecta. Pero pues, sobre todo, o sea, más allá de un deseo que parta de los nos, que parta de decir no a tal otra cosa, pues quisiera también un futuro de los sí, un futuro donde sí se respete a nuestras tradiciones, se respeten nuestras creencias, nuestras formas de vivir, y que también nosotros aprendamos a convivir con las demás naciones, que nos quitemos todo este daño que nos ha hecho la visión, ¿cómo decirlo? La visión capitalista, digamos, de producción, esta manera de extraer, que no necesariamente compartimos siempre, pero que nos ha afectado a veces en nuestras formas de vida. Entonces, pues sí, eso quisiera. Por un lado, que desaparezcan presiones que tenemos encima de nosotros y por otro lado, que nuestra forma de vida se mantenga a nuestra manera, con nuestros derechos principalmente lingüísticos, que es una preocupación que me acompaña siempre por mi historia personal, pero también derechos pues a ser nosotros mismos. Es todo. Gracias.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. However, Veronica, Cesar, can you please share your hopes for the future and the world you envision?
Muchas gracias. Bueno, primero coincido con los que me antecedieron. Primero es derribar el sistema capitalista, ¿verdad? Neoliberal, que ha empobrecido a los pueblos indígenas y ha destruido su tierra, su territorio. La situación está, lo que buscamos es una autodeterminación de nuestros pueblos y creo que en eso tenemos que trabajar mucho. Esa es una esperanza que tengo, que en un par de años pues logremos eso que está plasmado en letras, en algunos convenios ya internacionales o algunas declaraciones internacionales, pero que esto no sea letra muerta, sino que sea algo vivo y que se respete todo lo que ya señalaron anteriormente. Lo otro es, por ejemplo, para el futuro es que las nuevas generaciones pues retomen y revitalicen los conocimientos ancestrales, ¿verdad? Hablaban puntualmente del uso del idioma. Nuestros pueblos han sido ricos en mucha ciencia, mucha cultura, en las matemáticas, en la astronomía, en la filosofía, la cosmovisión, formas de trabajar la tierra con la agricultura. Hay propias formas de organización, propias formas de sistema de justicia, una vida comunitaria donde todos se apoyan y protegen todo lo que existe a su alrededor. Creo que eso es lo que soñamos, un mundo donde no haya discriminación, no haya racismo, no haya exclusión de los pueblos indígenas en toma de decisiones. Creo que eso es lo que buscamos, y tal vez como para retomar así brevemente, lo que nos enseñó el COVID fue a retomar nuestra propia forma de organización, a retomar nuestros conocimientos ancestrales, nuestra alimentación, nuestra medicina. La otra situación es el compartir también, el intercambio. Eso nos ha ayudado y a consolidarnos nuevamente, retomando lo que habíamos dejado años atrás, solamente.
Hello, Cesar. Adriana, there's no pressure, but in 2 minutes, can you tell us what kind of a world you envision?
Gracias, Valine. Creo que algo importante que el COVID ha dejado en claro es qué tan resilientes son los pueblos indígenas. Y quisiera que en un mundo con el que yo soñaría, quisiera que se reconociera, ¿verdad?, lo crucial que es el papel que tienen los pueblos indígenas en las soluciones sostenibles, y realmente que se fomentaran encuentros, intercambios entre nosotros mismos, entre las comunidades, que compartamos nuestras soluciones, que compartamos nuestras historias de éxito, que compartamos todas esas experiencias que han hecho que podamos ser pueblos verdaderamente resilientes. Gracias.
That is gorgeous. How, Adriana. Nati?
Hi, I echo and I really agree with what's been said already and resonates with me. What I like to see for the future and a dream that I always aspire to is an abundance and a flourishment of the dynamic cultures, the languages. Me not being able to speak my native language is really, it's really, really upsets me. And I think it impacts in me on an individual level and many other people around the world who don't have that accessibility. And I think it's really important to bring liberation to that and to be able to offer and fully acknowledge the existence of all the living beings in the universe, in this planet that we call Earth, the only home that we have. I think acknowledging the elements that allow us to breathe and learn to live in coexistence with them, as we as Indigenous people have practiced. And we've been caretakers and of many lands, and I think it's really important to really go back to that relationship and being able to offer that exchange. And I just always see a garden, like I just always reference to a garden. The gardens are full of so many diverse creatures, plants, floral, fauna. It's really beautiful. And there's going to be tensions there, right? But they live in harmony. It lives in harmony, that garden. It's full of insects, soil, birds, wind, air. And I think I really want to see a world where we can live in that place of harmony and understand our differences and support one another.
How that is gorgeous. Thank you. Sheldon, if you can share your vision for the world.
What a big question. Thanks so much, Valine. That's huge. I don't know where to begin. I have to agree with Nati. I think we need to show, or they need to understand, our way of respect for the earth, respect for all things living. We are not yet getting through. We are doing so much just by living, but it's always us against them. And they are driven by selfish goals or whatever it is that drives them. So I love that. Mine is a passion for languages in particular. I would love for us to have a Zoom meeting like this in any indigenous language, in a language other than English or Espanol. It would be awesome if all of us get together and listen in Krenak language, for example. That would be something that I aspire to. Or one of the ancient languages of Southern Africa, Nuki, for instance, and all of us understand that is an ideal world for me. I wish it will still happen in my lifetime. Thanks, Valine.
Oh, my cheeks are going to be sore from smiling so much. You all have shared so much inspiration and hope and beauty, and you are cultural survival. And I love all of the positive frames that you've all shared here, because we are strong and we are resilient and we are powerful, and our languages are living, and so much is being done to keep them living. And so I just wanted to really uplift those inspiring and powerful words that you all have shared. Respect for all beings and all things. This is just so incredibly inspiring and so humbling to talk with you all and to hear you all this morning and this afternoon. We are coming to our closing, and I do just want to share that we're counting down to the Cultural Survival Annual Day of Giving, which is next Tuesday, June 1st. And as we approach, and that is leading up to the 50th anniversary of Cultural Survival, which is next year in 2022. So we are inviting those who are tuned in and who tune in afterwards to join us in celebrating the 49 years of milestones and growing the team of Indigenous leaders by donating to our hashtag CS50 campaign. And all gifts that are made leading up to June 1st will be doubled up to $5,000, thanks to a matching challenge from one of our generous donors, John Rulock. And so far we have raised $20,410, which is phenomenal. And you've heard here today all of the important community building and resilient work that cultural survival is doing. And I really hold my hands up to you, Adriana, Edson, Verónica, Cesar, Shaldon, and Nati. And also want to acknowledge those who we don't see here today. So Cultural Survival is a team of 28 people around the world who are doing this groundbreaking work, uplifting Indigenous sovereignty and culture and language. So huge acknowledgements to Daisy, to our executive director, Galina, and the rest of the team. I would love to see another tea meet and greet with some more staff team members moving forward. And I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda. How thank you all, Dalang Wadluan Outfi Gudne La Uslang. You all make me so happy. You are amazing and doing such beautiful and important work. And I am going to invite Cesar to close us out with a prayer in a good way.
Dios sida Irona nakapakalich kahau skari chahe chpang tel kaskawan Dios ti kulik shakap kulik takusan pana la pishanik la ire ronare kas nakanam pakakachari kas nakanam pakamanik cultural survival. Pues le agradecemos al creador y formador, ¿verdad? Por este día, por reunirnos, por estar en esta actividad, compartiendo el trabajo que desarrollamos cada uno de nosotros con Cultural Survivor y que esto es recibido también en las comunidades, ¿verdad? Hoy en nuestro calendario maya estamos en un día Tijash, se llama, Tijash, un Tijash. Es un día donde hay mucha energía para que nosotros podamos pedir estas iniciativas, esta inteligencia, para poder caminar y poder, más que todo, atravesar todas las cuestiones negativas que pueden haber en nuestro caminar, en nuestro quehacer diario, ¿verdad? En nuestra vida por el reconocimiento de derechos de los pueblos indígenas. Entonces, le pedimos al Tijash, que es la energía de la obsidiana, ¿verdad? De las piedras que existen en la tierra, que es el cuerpo humano, o sea, es como que fueran los huesos de la tierra, ¿verdad? Entonces, le pedimos que haya mucha fortaleza y que nos ayude, pues, a seguir creciendo y seguir fortaleciendo nuestras energías se transformarán en estos cambios que estamos buscando en este mundo, ¿verdad? Más que todo, reconocimiento de derechos de los pueblos indígenas, reconocimiento de conocimiento ancestral, revitalización de toda nuestra cultura, de toda nuestra identidad. Eso es lo que pedimos en este día, a la energía del día Tijash, que es la obsidiana en nuestro idioma, que es el idioma maya, ¿verdad? Entonces, le agradecemos a todos los que sintonizaron esta actividad y asimismo a los organizadores y a todo el personal de Cultural Survivor, a todo el equipo técnico que está atrás también apoyando este proceso. Pues les agradecemos a todas y todos y nos vamos a encontrar en otra oportunidad donde vamos a estar conectados nuevamente compartiendo lo que realizamos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Cesar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Valine. Thank you to all of our panelists and speakers for joining us, sharing your stories, sharing your journeys, and sharing your hopes for the future. So with that, we are going to bring this webinar to a close. And I want to echo what Valine and others have said of let's have more like this, where we get to bring other members of our team to our community to share who we are and what we're doing. So with that, again, Yawonko, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our audience and community who joined us today as well to hear these stories. With that, I wish you all good health, a great day ahead, and a restful weekend as well. And we will see you all again soon. Yawonko.